Hey guys, how are you? I'm here to do our post game for Santos 0, Remo 0 as well for the first leg of the round of 16 of the Copa do Brasil here at Vila Belmiro. The activity here is still intense with the people working, taking down all the cables, basically the whole structure that supported this game. It was a very frustrating draw, especially considering what Santos was able to create, and Kuka talked about this in the press conference. They had many offensive moments, many chances, shots that hit the post, but in the end, the ball just wouldn't go in. And of course, when you think about a knockout tournament, when you have the chance to play the first game at home, you expect the team to at least win 1-0 to take a slight advantage into the decisive match, which will be very tough at Mangueirão next Tuesday. So, what's going to happen? This Sunday, the athletes will report back in the morning. Usually those who played as starters will have a quicker recovery session and tests to understand the athlete's physical condition for the following week. Santos will play on Tuesday in Para and on Sunday, Father's Day, against Atlético Paranaense again here at Vila Belmiro. He talked a lot about this in the press conference, right? About not releasing, for example, João Ananias, the defender who is still young enough for the youth national team, was recently called up but is a starting player to play alongside Verissimo, who, by the way, is a concern for the next match. But so we don't drag this video out too much, right? Let's talk about a few points regarding this match. Gabigol wasn't able to score his 100th goal, 100. He's stuck on 99 goals. I personally thought the atmosphere of the game, the energy from the fans was really nice because we saw Santos being competitive. The first half was very lively, and there was also that shot that hit the post by Jaja, if I'm not mistaken. So it seemed like Santos was going to be competitive, that they were going to push forward. Neymar played the full 90 minutes. There were players who didn't do well, just like Adonis ended up making a mistake in the Copa Sudamericana. This time it was Rolezer who didn't make a mistake, but he didn't play well. He was even taken off at halftime, right? And then finally in the second half, Santos ended up losing their way a bit. I felt there was a bit of nervousness, a bit of anxiety too in this battle against the clock, so to speak, trying to score a goal and get ahead at the end of the second half. But anyway, it ended up being a 0-0 draw. Brazil was also called into action a few times. So I think these are the main points for us to talk about today's match, which had Neymar leading the team alongside Gabigol and also Barreal in the attack. About the press conference, let's go back to the topic that got the most attention, Neymar's situation, guys. Because here's the thing, I'll try to sum up the schedule, okay? I mentioned that the team will regroup on Sunday. Of course, Neymar is included in this, but on Monday, August 3rd, Neymar, as you already know, is hosting that big auction for his institute, which is actually here in the Santos area. It's a very important event for the institute because the money raised pays for a lot of things, including the employees' salaries. You can go to the institute's website where they'll explain this whole auction thing. But what happens, right? Since the team travels on Monday after lunch to Pará, which is a long trip, actually the team has to go from Santos to Guarulhos airport and from there another long trip to Pará. So from Santos to São Paulo, how long will that take? At the time they're leaving, it's about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours to Guarulhos. And then, if I'm not mistaken, a 3.5 to 4 hour flight. So it's pretty much almost the same distance as the trip to Venezuela, for example. So it's a very exhausting trip. And on Monday night in São Paulo, there's this big event, right? Which is very important for Neymar. Anyway, so Kuka was asked about this, right? If Neymar would, for example, go to the auction on Monday and then maybe catch a flight to go to the game on Tuesday, or if not, if the focus is really on Santos, because in the middle of last week, right, when they secured qualification for the Copa Sudamericana, Kuka said he was counting on Neymar for these two games against Remo, right? And with the journalist insisting on the question, trying to understand the situation, he said it would be resolved internally based on this assessment of whether he's worn out or not. So, in my understanding, Neymar is indeed doubtful for this Tuesday's game. And I believe he will indeed go to the auction at this very important event, which many celebrities attend. It's financially very important. I wrote an article about this on the Lance website. You can check out which 17 items will be auctioned. A jersey from the MSN trio at Barcelona, a Pele set made by someone who had already designed jewelry in other editions of the auction, which is now celebrating its 6th edition. So it's really like a red carpet event. with personalities not necessarily from soccer, I think even more from entertainment than from soccer. And Neymar, who usually shows up to add even more value to this annual charity auction, right, which is grand and very important. But there's this discussion, this question about where Santos stands in all these priorities. If he's going to be worn out from the trip, if he's going to be blamed, if he'll go afterwards. We'll figure all that out this year, but much more than the context than what happened here in this 0-0 and projecting the return match. There's this question of how the weight, the importance, and Neymar's participation will be considered using good judgment and also taking into account the issue of physical wear. I'll stop here for now. People are already getting ready to almost turn off the lights here at Villa in Baihada Santissima. The night isn't very cold, it's pleasant. And I'll be back throughout the week. Tomorrow there will be more posts, more reactions, right, about how this goalless draw went. And of course, the start of the week, because the game is already on Tuesday, so Monday is all about the lineup, full steam ahead. How will this preparation be to secure that spot in the next round for more knockout rounds and to split the focus between the Brasileirão and the Copa Sudamericana?